Have you ever found yourself replaying every word, every glance, every moment with someone who no longer deserves your energy? It's like your mind refuses to let go, even when your heart knows it's time. Obsession feels like a chain, invisible but painfully heavy. And the more you try to fight it, the tighter it pulls. Today, we're going to uncover why that obsession feels so powerful, why breaking free seems impossible, and most importantly, how you can finally stop obsessing over them and reclaim your peace. When you find yourself obsessing over someone, it often feels like it came out of nowhere. But the truth is that obsession is rarely random. It usually grows out of an emotional dependency that builds quietly over time. When you attach your happiness, your sense of worth, or even your daily sense of peace to another person, you create a deep connection that feels almost impossible to untangle. It isn't just about who they are. It's about what you've allowed them to represent in your life. Maybe you've told yourself that without them, your world would feel dull, empty, or colorless. Maybe you've linked their presence with your sense of stability or safety, and now the idea of letting go feels like giving up the very thing that kept you standing. But if you look closer, you'll see it wasn't really them who created that feeling. It was the story you built around them. It was the hope, the fantasy, and the imagined life you thought you could have with them. This is why obsession often feels so powerful. It's not the person you're clinging to, it's the meaning you've attached to them. And when you start peeling away that layer, separating the person from the fantasy, you realize that much of what you've been holding on to is something you created in your own mind. That's the first step toward freedom. Seeing them not as the solution to your emptiness, but as a flawed human who cannot and never could carry the responsibility of your wholeness. The grip of obsession doesn't only live in your thoughts. It takes root in your brain's reward system. Every time you think about them, check your phone hoping for a message, or replay a sweet memory, your brain gives you a surge of dopamine, the same chemical that fuels addiction. It feels good for a moment, even when it hurts you in the long run. That's why the craving to think about them, to stalk their social media, or to relive the good times feels so irresistible. It's not because they are your soulmate, and it's not because you can't live without them. It's because your brain has been conditioned to associate their presence with reward. And just like with any addiction, when the reward is gone, your system goes into withdrawal, making you feel restless, empty, and desperate for another fix. Have you noticed how your thoughts loop back to them over and over, no matter how much you tell yourself to stop? That isn't love speaking. It's the wiring of your brain trying to get another hit of the chemical it has grown used to. Once you recognize that what you're experiencing is a cycle of craving and withdrawal, you stop romanticizing it as meant to be and start seeing it for what it is, a chemical trap. And just like with any trap, the way out begins with awareness. One of the hardest truths to face when you're caught in obsession is how much you've idealized the other person. It's almost like your mind builds them into something larger than life, giving them qualities they never truly had, or magnifying the small gestures into evidence of something extraordinary. Maybe they gave you attention at a time when you felt invisible, or perhaps they said words that made you feel special in a way no one else had. Your brain grabs those moments and replays them like a highlight reel, pushing aside the negative experiences, the disappointments, or the ways they made you feel small and unheard. This is how obsession grows, by feeding off selective memory. But here's the shift that can free you. Begin asking yourself not only what they gave you, but what they took away from you. Did they drain your energy? Did they leave you anxious, waiting for their approval or their next move? Did they make you question your worth more often than they reassured it? Obsession makes you focus on the rare highs while ignoring the countless lows. But healing comes when you allow yourself to look at the whole picture. That doesn't mean erasing the good moments. It means balancing them with the reality of the pain, the neglect, or the disrespect that also existed. By stripping away the illusion, you begin to see them as human. Not a savior, not the only source of joy, but just another person who gave you some moments of light, but also shadows you can no longer ignore. And once you see them clearly, the grip of obsession weakens, because you stop clinging to a fantasy that never truly existed. Another deep layer of obsession comes from the emptiness it tries to fill. When you obsess over someone, it often points to an unmet need within yourself that you're unconsciously hoping they will satisfy. Maybe it's the need to feel chosen, to feel loved without conditions, or to feel seen in ways you've longed for since childhood. That's why their absence feels unbearable. Not just because they're gone, but because their presence temporarily soothed a wound you've carried for years. The problem is, no person can consistently heal those wounds for you. They can't parent the child inside you who still aches to be enough. They can't provide endless validation without faltering, and they can't give you a permanent sense of worth. Only you can begin that journey of self-repair. Think about it. If the obsession is filling a hole within you, the only lasting solution is to address that hole directly, not try to patch it with another person. That's why practices like self-reflection, journaling, therapy, and surrounding yourself with people who value you can be so transformative. They remind you that the power to heal is already inside you. Obsession whispers, you need them to feel whole, but healing counters with, you were whole before them, and you will be whole after them. Recognizing this truth takes away the power you've unknowingly handed over, returning it back where it belongs, with you. Obsession often lingers because of the constant loop of unanswered questions in your mind. You replay conversations, analyze their behavior, and try to decode why they acted the way they did. The brain does this because it craves closure, a neat explanation that ties everything together and makes sense of the confusion. But the truth is, not every story gives you the satisfaction of clear answers. And when you're dealing with relationships that left you hurting, those answers may never come. This is why obsession becomes exhausting. It's your mind searching for clarity in a place where clarity may not exist. The turning point comes when you realize that closure is not something they can give you. It's something you choose to create for yourself. Closure doesn't mean you suddenly understand everything they did. It means you accept that their actions reflect who they are, not who you are. It means you stop chasing explanations that only leave you more entangled and instead start defining your own ending. When you choose to let the story end without their input, you reclaim power. Think of it this way. You can either spend years waiting for them to give you peace or decide right now that peace is something you will no longer outsource. That decision frees you from the endless cycle of why and allows you to focus on the more important what now. What do you want for your life moving forward? What kind of love and respect do you now know you deserve? Asking yourself these questions is how you move from rumination to rebuilding, from being stuck in their story to writing your own. Another powerful reason obsession takes hold is the way the brain becomes addicted to patterns of reward and withdrawal. Relationships that are inconsistent, where one moment you feel adored and the next you feel rejected. Train your nervous system to crave the highs more intensely because of the unpredictable lows. It's similar to how people get hooked on gambling. The uncertainty creates a stronger pull than consistency ever could. When you're trying to stop obsessing, your body might literally feel restless, like it's going through withdrawal. This isn't weakness, it's biology. Your brain has linked them with a source of chemical highs, and breaking that cycle feels almost like breaking free from an addiction. The key here is to rewire those reward systems by creating new sources of fulfillment that don't leave you depleted. Simple but consistent habits like exercise, creative outlets, or building new friendships begin to release dopamine in healthier, sustainable ways. Every time you resist the urge to check their profile, replay old messages, or rehash the past, you're training your brain to detach. Over time, the intensity of the obsession decreases because you're not feeding it with constant reminders. The withdrawal doesn't last forever, even though it feels unbearable at first. What replaces it is a steadier sense of peace, a balance that comes when your life is no longer dictated by someone else's presence or absence. This is how you start breaking the addictive cycle, by teaching your brain that true joy and security can come from stability, not chaos. One of the most effective ways to finally stop obsessing over someone is to shift your focus from what you lost to what you are capable of gaining. Obsession often keeps your attention locked on them, their words, their actions, their absence, as though your entire world revolves around the ghost of what once was. But healing comes when you deliberately start pouring that same energy back into yourself. Ask yourself, what parts of me have I been neglecting while I was so consumed with them? Maybe you let your passions, hobbies, or personal goals slip into the background because all of your mental space was taken up by replaying conversations or waiting for their attention. Redirecting your energy means consciously choosing to invest in the life you want to create rather than the one that fell apart. It can be as simple as starting with small acts of self-prioritization. Taking yourself out for a walk, learning something new, or committing to habits that make you feel stronger and more grounded. Over time, these little choices remind you that your identity is not tied to who you loved, but to who you are. Shifting the focus back to yourself isn't just about distraction. It's about rewriting the story. Instead of seeing yourself as someone abandoned or rejected, you begin to see yourself as someone who survived, who learned, and who chose to rise. This mindset shift is what transforms pain into purpose. When you stop asking, why weren't I enough for them? And start asking, what kind of life feels enough for me? Obsession loses its grip because you no longer define your worth through their lens. Another crucial step is to practice radical acceptance of the present moment. Obsession thrives on two extremes, replaying the past and fantasizing about a different future. You may find yourself thinking, if only I had said this, or maybe one day they'll come back and realize what they lost. These thoughts anchor you either in regret or in longing, but neither keeps you rooted in what's real. Radical acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what happened or that you feel okay about the hurt you endured. It means you choose to stop fighting reality. You acknowledge, yes, this is where I am. Yes, this relationship ended. Yes, they're who they showed me they are. That acceptance feels heavy at first because it forces you to face the finality of the situation, but it is also profoundly freeing. When you stop resisting reality, you stop feeding the obsession with what-ifs and maybes. This creates space for healing because your mind is no longer tangled in illusions of control. From that grounded place, you can start to rebuild your life one step at a time, not based on what could have been, but on what actually is. Practicing this might look like journaling your feelings without judgment, meditating to bring yourself back into the present, or simply catching your thoughts when they drift into the past and gently reminding yourself, that chapter is over. I am here now. Over time, this practice strengthens your resilience and gives you the power to face reality without being consumed by it, allowing you to move forward with clarity and peace. You've carried the weight of this obsession long enough. It's time to lay it down. Remember, you are not defined by who you lost, but by the strength you gain in letting go. If this message spoke to your heart, I'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts in the comments, because your journey could inspire someone else. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Motivation and Healing for more empowering content. And tell me, what's the next topic you'd love me to dive into? Your suggestion could be the spark for our next conversation.